Hey, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been feeling like your brand needs a little love, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have just the tool you need. The Standout Brand Audit Bot is an AI-powered guided audit that shows you exactly what's working, what's not, and how to strengthen your brand using my proven Standout brand system. In 10 minutes or less, you'll walk away with clear next steps to move your brand forward with purpose. It's completely free. Just head to the show notes to grab the link and get started. AI imagery is getting really, really good, like scary good. It's also pretty accessible if you know how to use AI correctly to get the type of images that you're looking for. But that does not automatically mean that you should be using it for your brand. I recently polled my Threads audience and asked how they felt about seeing AI-generated imagery in brands that they were considering working with. And it was a pretty unanimous no thanks, which I was surprised by. Now, I use AI in my business, and I think it can do a lot of really great things for us. But branding and brand imagery specifically is really different. And if you are going to use AI imagery in your branding, I think you need to be extremely intentional and very thoughtful about it. Otherwise, you could be really playing with fire. So in this episode, we're going to cover why using AI imagery is so tempting, the core issue of why people are saying they don't like it when they see brands use AI imagery, instances where maybe it's okay, and the questions to ask yourself whenever you're considering whether or not this is the right move for you. If you have been considering starting to use AI imagery as part of your brand, or you've been doing it for a while and you're wondering if you should continue, I think this episode is going to be really eye-opening for you. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of two, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. I want to start by reading you some of the responses that I got to my initial post about whether or not we should be using AI imagery in our branding. So I will link this post in the show notes, but my question specifically said, how do we feel about AI-generated imagery in branding in place of stock photos or custom brand photography? It was pretty much a unanimous no. There are 61 comments on that thread. I didn't reply to very many of them, so those are all comments from real people giving me their opinions. And I'm going to read you just a few that stick out. The very first one says, no, if you won't take the time to find the right images or take them, why would you take the time to deliver your service well for me? Another one says, immediate turnoff. The moment I see AI imagery, I'm out. Drives me nuts. For B-roll images, I think it's fine, but for people, it's inauthentic and it violates my trust. Not for me. I'd rather use stock images taken by real people. I hate it. I immediately bounce. I'm not a fan. It feels lame and dishonest. I can pretty much guarantee that stock or even basic iPhone shots will do more for your business than AI will. It's one of the fastest ways to lose trust. It makes your brand look cheap and your promotions give off scam energy. And finally, I hate them, dude. So out of all of those, there was one comment of someone who was pro AI imagery, and I will read you what they said also. This person said, I'm a terrible photographer and I can't afford professional photography, so AI works for me, especially as long as you tag it as AI imagery. Notice that this person did not exactly answer the question I was asking, which was more geared towards how do you feel when you see AI imagery in a brand that you're interacting with, not why do you use it for your brand. There's plenty of justifications why you would use it for your brand, and we're going to get into this in a minute. But I think it's important to note that out of 61 comments, all of them said some version of don't do this. Some were definitely more strongly worded and passionate than others, but the general sentiment seems to be that consumers are sick of AI imagery. Now, let's talk about why this is even a question in the first place. So using AI imagery is really tempting. I'll be honest, I follow a couple of people on the internet who create some really beautiful, really compelling AI imagery, and I get FOMO sometimes. I'm like, oh, I should learn how to do that. Like maybe that could be an asset for my clients. These photos are so cool looking. And they are. The other reason why dabbling in using AI imagery in your business is so tempting is because it's cheap, it's fast, it can look professional, it's really convenient. And if you know how to do it well enough, you can generate the exact photo you want with endless variations. But I think the two biggest things here are it's cheap and it's fast. You're not paying for a photographer and you can get exactly what you're looking for immediately. So for newer or more budget-conscious entrepreneurs, it can feel like a shortcut to looking more established, a way to compete with bigger brands, a solution to the I can't afford professional photos yet problem, and a way to fill your content gaps quickly and easily. I understand the appeal. You don't have a big budget, maybe you don't have a brand photo shoot on the books ever or until several months from now, and you need visuals now. This feels like the obvious answer. But the thing is that branding is not only about looking established. It's also about being believable and building trust. And I think that's where AI imagery misses. So let's talk for a second about the point of branding, right? Branding is about how people see you, how people feel about you, do they believe you, and can they see themselves working with you? So we've got perception, emotional connection, trust building, and relatability. Photos in a service-based business help with all of those things. They make you feel more human. They make you feel more credible. They help someone feel like they're building an immediate connection with you, even when they haven't met or spoken to you yet. They make you feel like a real person, and they really accelerate that trust process. Now, the thing here is that brand photography is one of the best ways to do that. That also means that bad brand photography can be one of the quickest ways to do the opposite of those things, to make you feel like a robot or unrelatable, fake, distant, scammy, all of those things that people said in their responses to that Threads post. When you use AI-generated imagery, and especially when you use exclusively AI-generated imagery in your branding, people start to question, is this actually you? Is this a real representation of what I'm going to get when I work with you? And they start to feel like maybe they're being misled. So it subtly erodes that trust that you have been working so hard to build with your brand. The other thing here is that this is almost never obvious or dramatic or stated explicitly. People are probably not going to tell you that they're having these questions or feeling this way, which becomes a big problem because then you start noticing, oh, I'm not getting as many inquiries lately. And it becomes difficult to pinpoint what the reason is. Your brand lives and dies on your credibility. And especially as an online business owner, there are not that many ways that we get to build credibility. We get to build it through the content that we put out into the world, email, social media, etc., which includes photography, and by talking to people. How do we talk to people? Typically by putting content out into the world that encourages them to connect with us and talk to us. So you can see how it all starts with your brand. And a huge part of that is your brand photos. So let's talk about some example scenarios in which AI imagery might feel like the right answer, but is actually doing you a disservice. First, an AI-generated workspace that is not yours. So you show a beautiful, styled office that is like picture perfect and super aspirational, but in reality, you work from your couch, or you have an office in your dining room, or you're generally working from a co-working space or a coffee shop. Client books a call with you, you get on Zoom, they see something completely different, and they immediately feel a disconnect. Number 2, AI headshots that look a little bit more polished than you look in real life. This is a huge one for me. I will not inquire with somebody who has an AI-generated photo of themselves as their profile picture or on their website. I get that there are maybe legitimate reasons why people do this, but for me personally, that's a hard no. AI makes you look beautiful. It smooths your skin. It perfects your lighting. It idealizes features about yourself. It makes you look like the picture perfect version of yourself. And then your client gets on Zoom and meets you and you look different. And they will not say anything. They're not going to say, oh my gosh, you look so much different in your profile photo. But they'll notice and they will wonder about it, and it will give them pause, I can guarantee you. And finally, AI lifestyle images that suggest you are in a different stage of business than you really are. I got one comment on that thread specifically about this, and I want to read it to you. It's from my friend Erin. Shout out Erin. She said, I hate the ones where people are showing off living the high life. It's super irritable to me because it's not real whatsoever when I know that that's not their actual life. Yes, agree. When you are using AI imagery to make it look like you are in these luxurious locations with this $1 million business, but in reality, you're like in an earlier stage of your business, you're a little more scrappy, a little more hands-on. You're not working in the high-rise building. Again, when people meet you in real life or on Zoom, their expectation doesn't match reality and it's immediate disconnect. If someone feels misled when they meet you, even if it's just subtly, even if it's, oh, you look a little bit different in real life than your picture, you will lose them. They might not tell you that that's why you're losing them, but if it creates a question in your brain, it's game over. Now, I know you might be thinking, especially with my example of the workspace that is not yours, well, but we all get brand photos taken and those are in Airbnbs or studios or places that we don't actually work. What's the difference? And I think there's a big difference. Branding is meant to elevate reality, not fabricate it. So when you take your real self and your real computer and your real podcast mic and your real clothes and your real personality and take it to a location that is maybe a little more picture perfect or ideal than your actual office, there's still so much real about that photo that it doesn't feel misleading in the way that a completely AI generated image does. There is a difference between putting your best foot forward, which might mean booking a brand photo shoot in an ideal location, versus just pretending to be something you're not entirely because it looks good. You can be strategic and authentic at the same time. You could show your real workspace and just put some extra effort into styling it beautifully. You could rent a workspace for your photo shoot and, like I said, bring in all of your real stuff that you actually use day to day. Show yourself as you actually show up from work. I have another episode about what your brand strategist wants you to know before you book your brand photo shoot, where I talk a lot about how to show up to your photo shoot still as yourself, but as an elevated version of yourself. And that's what we want to see in your brand. We don't want to see a fake version of yourself. You don't need to fabricate your life and your business to look credible. In fact, when you do that, it has the opposite effect. Now, here's the thing. There are some instances where I think it's fine to use AI imagery. I am not saying that AI imagery has no place in your brand. I am saying that your entire brand should not be built around AI imagery. And if you take one thing away from this, let it be that we do not want to see AI generated images of your face. One of the comments that I read you earlier said, I don't mind it so much for like B-roll and stuff, but for photos of people, it's a no for me. And I would agree with that. It's important to be very, very, very intentional about where and how you're using AI imagery in your business. So here's some situations where it might make sense. For things like background textures, abstract elements, things that are not really real anyways, by all means, play around with AI, create something that's super custom for your brand. I think that's a great idea. So things like patterns with abstract shapes, overlays, patterns, background gradients, anything that is not an image of a real thing, go for it. I love that AI has made design more accessible for non-designers, and I think that that's a great way to use it. Another way that I think it makes sense to use AI imagery is for conceptual visuals and graphics and diagrams and things like that. So for example, if you're trying to illustrate a metaphor or a concept as support graphics for like a blog post, I think that's also a great way to use it and a great way to make something custom for your brand that does not require you to have super robust graphic design skills. And then finally, for any B-roll or stock photography or again, things that don't include a human element. So if you want to use AI to create a mock-up of some digital product that you have, or to create like a background image with, a desk and a computer and whatever, I would prefer you to buy mock-ups and images from a real photographer. But if that's the only option available at your disposal, I think that's okay. Where it's a hard no for me, I've said this already and I'm going to keep saying it, is AI generated images of people. Give me, and it sounds like give those 61 people who commented on my thread an immediate ick and make me not trust you. So the key here is the AI imagery, if you're going to use it at all, should be supplemental, not foundational. It should not ever replace real brand photography of you, real human connection, real lived experience, real proof of your work. Your face, your life, your clients, those should all be real things. Even if you can't afford a professional photographer to take the images for you, even if they have to be taken on your iPhone with a tripod and a timer or by a friend or whatever your options are, those need to be real images. And I frankly don't think there's any wiggle room around that. Now, supporting graphics, backgrounds, conceptual elements, if they're done really thoughtfully, I think it's okay to explore using AI for those. But I want to remind you that you are your own differentiator. I say this all the time when I'm working with brand strategy clients. There are so many people out there who offer the same service you do. Nobody does it like you. And if you're using 100% AI imagery, nobody's going to get to know you. So why would they go with the person who shows up like a fake robot version of themselves versus the person who's being real and authentic online, even if they have maybe not as great looking of photos. With everyone having this access to AI, the barrier to, quote, looking good is really, really low. Anybody can generate a polished headshot, create a beautiful fake office, and produce super slick visuals, which means that polished visuals are not really a differentiator anymore, but being human is. It's easy to think, oh, if I have this really polished, professional, beautiful, unique even AI imagery, it will make me stand out. But we are quickly crossing the threshold where AI imagery is actually just going to make you blend in more. What's going to make you stand out is being real, raw, authentic, showing up as yourself, and frankly, not being overly polished. Your real face, your real workspace, your real life is what's going to make you memorable and build connection. Some questions to ask yourself if you're considering using AI imagery in your business would be, why am I using this? What problem am I solving? Is it a budget issue, a time issue? Is it that I don't want to get photos of myself taken? Am I trying to present a real version of myself and my business or an idealized version of myself and my business? And be honest with yourself here. Why do you feel the need to do that if that's the case? What are you afraid will happen if you show up as you actually are? And finally, would you feel comfortable telling a client that this image is AI generated? In my case, there are some things I would feel comfortable telling them that and some things that I wouldn't. For example, if they said, oh my gosh, you have the cutest office. Where did you get this or that thing that's on your wall? And then I have to be like, oh, actually, that's not my real office. That's fake AI made that. So I couldn't even tell you where to get it. That would make me feel really cringy. But if somebody was said, well, this background image is cool. What stock website did you find that from? And I said, oh, I actually created that myself using AI and here's how I did it. That would be a cool, exciting thing for me to share. So I think the litmus test is if you don't feel that you can be transparent about using AI imagery, don't use it. And again, when it comes to photos of you, hard no from me. At Spect & Co., we are all about building strategic and honest brands that can scale. If you are building a brand that's intended to attract high-level clients, support long-term growth, and stand out, trust is non-negotiable, and trust is really, really fragile. You're hearing about the trust recession all over the internet. It's a real thing. Trust takes a lot of time to build and no time at all to destroy. One instance of somebody feeling misled, even subtly, and you will lose a potential client. So your brand and your photography is not the place to cut corners. And again, I am not anti-AI. I use AI in my business for all kinds of things. I use it for a lot of brainstorming, editing, research, but I am never going to use it for client work, and I'm never going to use it to create images, especially of myself or my clients. It is worth it to invest in real brand photography, whether that's a photo shoot or just buying some stock photos from somewhere like Creative Market. I think that brand photography is one of the most worthwhile investments that you can make in your brand. And I think you're better off just using generic stock photos than you are using AI images and trying to pass them off as real. So if you cannot afford brand photography and now you're thinking, well, shoot, Morgan, I was going to use AI images, but now you're saying I can't, what do I do? Do your best to take some photos with your phone. Use some stock photos. Find a photographer who is willing to do a services swap. This is usually something that I do not recommend, but I would rather see you do that than use AI imagery in your business and erode trust and lose clients. Whatever you do, do not use AI to fabricate a version of yourself that does not exist. Your brand online is your reputation, and it's important to protect it. Just because AI imagery is accessible and just because it seems like everyone else is doing it does not mean it belongs in your brand. Be intentional, be honest, be real. That's what will build you trust, and that's what will attract your ideal clients. This is such an interesting and nuanced conversation, and I, of course, am always open to hearing differing opinions. I would love to connect with you on Threads and keep this conversation going. You can find me at Spect & Co., and the link is always in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at Spect & Co. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.